boys and girls. It's Mrs. Pecora. Today we are going to read Dr. Seuss, a biography about him written by Mae Woods. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss by Mae Woods. How Dr. Seuss got his name. Dr. Seuss was the pen name of Theodore Seuss Geisel. His friends called him Ted. When Ted was in college, he edited the school humor magazine. One day, Ted had a party late at night. When the party got too loud, Ted's landlord called the dean. Ted got in trouble and he couldn't edit the magazine anymore. But Ted did not stop drawing cartoons. He signed them with his middle name to fool the dean. After college, Ted continued to sign his work Seuss. When he got his first job, he added the title Doctor. Later, he picked Theophrasis as a first name, and his pen name was complete. That's how Dr. Theophrasis Seuss came to life. Dr. Seuss soon became one of America's favorite storytellers. Early life. Ted Geisel was born on March 2, 1904, in Springfield, Massachusetts. His father was Theodore Robert Geisel, and his mother was Henrietta Seuss. Both his parents' families came from Germany and lived near Ted. Ted and his older sister Marnie grew up speaking German as well as English. The Geisels' home was a few blocks away from the Forest Park Zoo. Ted's father was a park official there. He often took young Ted to the zoo. When Ted came home, he drew pictures of the animals. The creatures Ted drew never looked like the real animals. They had long ears or odd feet. His mother loved his drawings and always encouraged Ted to use his imagination. Ted took his first art class in high school. The teacher did not let Ted draw like he wanted to. She wanted him to follow too many rules. He dropped her class and managed the soccer team instead. Ted never took an art class. First jobs. At age 17, Ted left home to go to Dartmouth College in New Hampshire. He planned to become an English teacher. He edited and wrote for the Jack-o'-lantern, Dartmouth's humor magazine. When he graduated, he went to England to study at the Lincoln College at Oxford University. There he became friends with another American student, Helen Palmer. Helen thought Ted was clever, and she loved his animal drawings. Helen encouraged Ted to concentrate on drawing instead of studying to become a teacher. Ted realized he did not really want to be a teacher. He wanted to be a writer and an illustrator. When Ted returned from England, he tried to sell his illustrations, but nobody would buy them. Finally, he sold a cartoon to the Saturday Evening Post. He moved to New York City and soon found a job drawing comics at Judge magazine. Ted and Helen got married on November 29, 1927. One of Ted's cartoons in Judge magazine joked about an insect spray called Flit. Instead of being angry about the joke, the H.K. McCann Advertising Agency, the makers of Flit ads, offered him a job. For the next 17 years, Ted wrote advertisements. He was finally a well-known, successful illustrator. And this is Lincoln College at Oxford University, boys and girls. On Mulberry Street. When Ted was not working, he loved to travel. He traveled often when he felt sad or needed to relax. On a boat trip home from Europe in 1936, he became fascinated by the sound of the boat's engine. It had a catchy rhythm. Words popped into his head to accompany the beat. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street. The words inspired his first children's story. It is a tale of a schoolboy imagining a horse and wagon turning into a parade of colorful creatures. Ted sent the story to 27 publishers. They all turned it down. Ted was about to throw the book away, but one day he met a friend from college on the street. Mike McClintock was an editor at Vanguard Press. Vanguard published the book. Young readers enjoyed the book. They liked Dr. Seuss's rhymes and his fun characters. He also used eye-catching bold colors in the illustrations. Readers wanted more books from Dr. Seuss. He began work on his second story, The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubans. Then came The King's Stilts and one of his most popular books, Horton Hatches the Egg. Children loved Horton the Elephant so much that Dr. Seuss later wrote another book about him, Horton Hears a Who. In 1967, Horton Hears a Who was made into a TV special. It won a Peabody Award. After he wrote Horton Hatches the Egg, Ted drew cartoons for PM Magazine. During this time, World War II was beginning in Europe. Many Americans did not want the U.S. to enter the war. Ted wrote editorial cartoons about the war. He thought the U.S. would have to fight. So here is a cartoon that he wrote in 1941. Dr. Seuss in the Army. On December 7, 1941, Japanese planes bombed Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. The U.S. entered World War II the next day. Ted joined the U.S. Army on January 7, 1943. He was assigned to the Information and Education Division at Fox Studio in Hollywood, California. Ted and Helen had bought a vacation home in La Jolla, California in 1940. So in 1943, they moved to California. Ted made educational films for the Army. Two of the films that Ted worked on won Academy Awards. In March of 1944, Ted was promoted to major. In August of 1945, the war ended. Ted was looking forward to his discharge from the service. Ted was discharged on January 13, 1946. He and Helen decided to stay in California. They bought land around an observation tower in La Jolla and built a house there. Soon, he began writing his next book. So this is a crew of filmmakers that shot a movie for the Army, the kind of work that Dr. Seuss did during the war. The Cat in the Hat. Ted's first book after the war was McElligot's Pool. He wrote Bartholomew and the Oobleck in 1949. These books were so popular that they were nominated for the Caldecott Medals. Ted wrote The Cat in the Hat in 1957 using only 225 easy-to-read words. Ted thought it would be easy to write a book using so few words. It wasn't. It took him a long time. But when he finished it, he wanted to write more stories that children would be able to read by themselves. In 1958, Ted and Helen and editor Phyllis Cerf founded Beginner Books. They put the image of the cat in the hat, from the Cat in the Hat, on the cover of each new book. Helen wrote and edited stories for the company and helped answer the mail Ted received from his fans. She often signed her letters, Mrs. Dr. Seuss. So boys and girls, here's an example of the beginner books. This says, I can read it all by myself, and it has the cat in the hat in it right there. Lug Ridge. In 1957, Ted wrote How the Grinch Stole Christmas. The Grinch was his favorite of all the characters he created. He often joked that he was part Grinch himself. He chose Grinch as the letters on his car's license plate. The message of the book was important to Ted. He felt that too many people spend Christmas time shopping and thinking about presents. He wanted to remind them to think about love and friendship instead of gifts. Later, Ted wrote a television version of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It won a Peabody Award. That was followed by Halloween is Grinch Night and The Grinch Grinches, The Cat in the Hat. Both of these films won Emmy Awards. Ted kept busy writing and illustrating new stories. Whenever Ted finished a book, he went to New York to read it aloud to the editors at Beginner Books. He wanted to hear them laugh. If Ted did not think the pages were funny enough, he would rewrite them. He worked hard to make each story as good as it could be. After Ted proved he could write just using a few words, his publisher, Bennett Cerf, challenged him to write a book using only 50 words. He bet $50 that Ted could not do it. Ted accepted the bet. In 1960, Ted wrote Green Eggs and Ham using exactly 50 words. Years later, Ted said the eggs he invented might not have been such a good idea. People kept trying to feed him green eggs. New places to go. Ted loved to travel and he loved to read. He read 4 or 5 books each week. He saw life as a changing adventure for everyone, young or old. Ted worried about the environment. In 1971, he wrote The Lorax to show people how earth, air, and water are destroyed when forests are cut down. In 1984, he wrote the Butter Battle book to make people think about nuclear war. Ted's books had helped millions of children learn to read. They also taught serious lessons in a fun way. People young and old loved his books. In 1984, Ted won the Pulitzer Prize. Ted's last book was published in 1990. It is an inspiring book about the future. Oh, the Places You'll Go reminds readers that life is a journey, and you have brains in your head and you have feet in your shoes. You can steer yourself in any direction you choose. Ted always looked ahead to the great places. That is why he did not retire. Even when his eyesight began to fail, he managed to keep working. But Ted was getting older. Soon he became sick. On September 24th, 1991, Theodore Seuss Geisel, known by millions of fans as Dr. Seuss, died. But his books live on and continue to educate people with their catchy rhymes and unforgettable characters. Dr. Seuss lives on. Dr. Seuss's stories have delighted readers for over 60 years. He wrote and illustrated over 50 children's books. Some have been made into movies and TV shows. But Dr. Seuss did more than write books. He used the money he made to help others. He gave money to libraries, art museums, and zoos. He created scholarships to help students go to college. Many libraries celebrate his birthday with special reading programs. Dr. Seuss also inspired people to improve the environment. A group created the Lorax Project to bring new trees to areas which have been damaged. The Dr. Seuss Lorax Forest has been created in Francis Marion National Forest near Charleston, South Carolina. The people of Springfield are especially proud of Dr. Seuss. They built a Dr. Seuss National Memorial in their city park. It has statues of many of his creatures to remind visitors of the wonderful world Dr. Seuss brought to life. The end. Boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed this biography about Dr. Seuss. Stay tuned to see what we'll read next.